Hello, BookTube. Well, it turns out we're not done with the mail. I got 4 more packages and they're all different. There's a white cardboard envelope, there's a brown cardboard envelope, there's a manila envelope, and there's a box. So will the contents be equally different? Only one way to find out. Let's see what this first one is. What have we here? Oh, it's big. Whatever it is, it's big. Oh, oh wow! I don't often get these. Oh wow! I wonder if this publicist will send me some of the ones I don't have. This is the Imager series by L.E. Motisset. This latest one is Assassin's Price. I once again renew my call for a complete publisher moratorium on any book title that starts with the word assassins. Assassin apostrophe S, the assassin's possessive. I once again urge publishers all over the world to stop starting books with that title. And unlike most moratoriums, I'm saying let's make it permanent. Let's say never start a book with that word again, ever, until the sun goes cold. But anyway, I've always loved the covers of these books. They're very realistic fantasy paintings. Who is it that does these covers? Donato Giancola. Okay, so L.E. Motisset, first of all, he's older than I thought he was, and he lives in Utah. I didn't know either one of those things. I always think of him as a punk kid. So this is the latest addition to the Imager portfolio, set in a world where magic is the literal realization of the imagination. This novel continues the latest story arc that began with last year's Treachery's Tools. So that I need at least, and I don't think I ever got it. 6 years have passed since the failed uprising of the High Holders against Rex Lorien. The man behind the conspiracy, High Holder Rael, has been head of the council where the Rex and Alistair can keep an eye on him. Charon, eldest son of Lorien, has come of age and longs to better understand how Solidar has grown and changed so much that he can become an effective Rex. Okay, I definitely need that earlier book. Unless the book does a better job than the pub sheet at making sense of any of this. Okay, so this comes out when? When does this come out? Good lord. Oh god, it comes out like a day. Okay. Alright. I will email the publicist and see if I can get at least the earlier volume. Okay, so Assassin's Price, which should have any other title. And then we'll do the other cardboard one. What is this? A finished copy. Oh, fantastic. Great. Okay, so this comes out on August 7th, and we are right in Steve's wheelhouse. This is Midnight in the Pacific, a new history of the campaign of Guadalcanal. Let's see here. From early August until mid-November of 1942, U.S. Marines, sailors, and pilots struggled for dominance against the implacable enemy, Japanese soldiers, inculcated with the Bushido tradition of death before dishonor. Avatars of bayonet combat, close-up personal and gruesome. The glittering prize was Henderson Airfield. Japanese planners knew that if they neutralized the airfield, the battle was won. So did the Marines who stubbornly defended it. Tell me that anything you're going to read in a fantasy novel from Tor is going to be this good. I don't mean to reopen old wounds. The outcome of the long slugfest remained in doubt under the pressure of repeated Japanese air, land, and sea operations, and the losses were heavy. At sea, in a half-dozen fiery combats, the U.S. Navy fought the Imperial Japanese Navy to a draw, but at a cost of more than 4,500 sailors. More American sailors died in these battles off Guadalcanal than in all previous U.S. wars, and each side lost 24 warships. On land, more than 1,500 soldiers and Marines died, and the air war claimed more than 500 U.S. planes. Japan's losses on the island were equally devastating. Starving Japanese soldiers call it the Island of Death. Okay, so with a book like this, you know, subject's been done many times. Many people have written books about Guadalcanal, so including a friend of mine. So when you get something like this, first of all, it's from Da Capo and it's in hardcover, so it's been vetted many times. They have a very good crew there. They don't put out bad books. And did I mention when this came out? Yeah, it comes out in August, right? It comes out in early August. Did I mention that already? I don't remember. August 7th. Okay. Uh, so when you get something like this, you know that the house is good, and you know the subject is always worth retelling. So what you have to do, as pitiless as it sounds, is assess whether or not the book has any reason to exist. And that's going to turn on two things. It's going to turn, one, on how extensively the author has reworked the source material. There's a vast amount of source material. Has the author used it, and used it as well or better than his predecessors? Or is he mostly basing this on other people's work? Nothing wrong with basing it on other people's work, but it does open the question of why you then wouldn't read their work instead of his. So that's part number one, and then part number two is the zing of the writing itself. He could base this thing on Looney Tunes cartoons, and if the writing's great, I won't care at all. So let's take a quick look. We have his notes. Okay, we want his bibliography. This is what I was talking about. I've talked about this on this channel before. Friends of mine who have in the past seen me immediately receive new books of nonfiction have often joked with me about the fact that I start at the back instead of the front. And this is why. Because I with a book like this, I'm not going to need to read the opening chapter to find out, what's at stake, who's on what side, what's going on. What I want to know is why I should read it at all. It's an anniversary. I think it's the 75th anniversary or something. But so what have we? Let's see. Let's go to the bibliography and just take a quick look. I promise we'll go on to the others. I'm not going to bore you to death with this. I just want to see, like, for instance, I think it's a long shot, but I want to see if there are any sources in the bibliography that are in Japanese, or if the author is relying on translators of those. There's an enormous amount of source material on Guadalcanal in Japanese. And the author has not consulted it. Now, that probably means that he can't read Japanese, which means that he is totally dependent on translators. And since he's totally dependent on translators, that is going to mean that he hasn't prowled those archives himself. So if there's a mistake, the mistake is being transmitted completely intact to this book. I'm not saying that's not the kiss of death. Most of the books that I have on World War II, or not most, many of the books that I have on World War II, especially some that I've really liked and that I've praised in print, for instance, had access where the author did a little bit of reading in the German archives, but none in Russian, none in Poland, and that's okay. So I'm seeing a lot of books that I know, a lot of books that I recognize. Okay, so so I've got that part down. Then the other part is the writing. So let's just let's just pick a page at random and see what kind of hands we're in. Just for the 3 days passed with little fighting while the combatants moved into their respective positions. The Japanese crossed the Metapona to Tetreti in the east, and Shoji received orders to march to the upper Lunga River, leaving behind 500 men at Gavaga Creek near Tereti. And to occupy the Americans, Shoji prepared to lead his 3,000 other troops inland to the south. Vandergrift had swiftly put together a strong combined force to attack Shoji. The American operation had mushroomed to 4 infantry battalions, a pair of tank companies, the Cactus Air Force, and naval warships, all of which would pound the Japanese while driving them into a pocket. With his troops now operating both west and east of Henderson Field, Vandergrift was compelled to form a new organizational structure. A brigadier general would command each of the 2 sectors. Okay. All right. Well, it's just one passage. It's nothing particularly to write home about, but you never know. So all right, it's just one passage. It's a new work of Southern theater, of Pacific theater, World War II history. So I'm right on board. Anyway, and then we'll move on. Let's move on to this one here. What do we got next here? Oh, it's big. I like this. What is this? Oh, okay, great. Oh, great. Okay. This is Keeping On, Keeping On by Alan Bennett. The new book from the author of The Lady in the Van and the History Boys. And what is this? Do we have a... Good Lord, I don't have a... I'm blind without a pub sheet. Let's see what it says here. His third collection of prose, Keeping On, follows in the footsteps of the phenomenally successful Writing Home, which we saw on this channel. Bringing together hilarious, revealing, and lucidly intelligent writing from one of England's best-known literary figures, Keeping On contains Bennett's diaries from 2005 to 2015, with everything from his much-celebrated essays to his irreverent comic pieces and reviews, reflecting on a decade that saw 4 major theater premieres and the film of The History Boys and The Lady in the Van. A chronicle of one of the most important literary careers of the 20th century, Keeping On is a classic history of life and letters. So that will mean, the diaries were originally published in the London Review of Books, and they do make good reading. He still does them, and the only drawback to them is that they're a little bit. They've become a little bit of a turkey vulture type thing. As he gets older, the diaries fill more and more, not only with the funerals of people that he knew, but also with, rueful observations of his on how I can't believe I'm still here. And, with old people, I have been told, the more they say some variation of I can't believe I'm still here, the more they get their listeners to say it too, and not quite in the same tone. So I'm I guess my point is that I doubt very much that I will read this from start to finish. I will probably dip. I will probably dip in and out of it. And then the last thing is the box. What can I do here? What can I do here? Uh-oh. Let's use our scissors. Since we have the foresight to have them right at hand, because we open packages all day long. So what is this? Something big. Good Lord. Second pass with the scissors. Where do people think they're mailing these things anyway? Vladivostok? For God's sake, you're in Pennsylvania. You're mailing it to Boston. You could practically put it in an open basket. All right, so what have we got here? What on earth? It's a scroll. I have received a galley copy from Julius Caesar. What could possibly merit a scroll? What the... It's poetry. It's Frank Bidart, Half-Light, Collected Poems, 1965 to 2016. Look at that. That's surefire way to get Steve's attention. Put Benvenuto Cellini on the cover. Put his most famous sculpture on the cover. But what? Okay, so there we have the author growing old before our eyes. So this is a collected poems of Frank Bidart. All right, okay. So this comes out in mid-August. Gathered together, the poems of Frank Bidart perform one of the most remarkable transmutations of the body into language in contemporary literature. His pages represent the human voice in all its extreme registers. I thought it was transforming a body. Now it's a voice. Whether it's that of a child murderer Herbert White, the obsessive anorexic Ellen West, the tormented genius Václav Nijinsky, or the poet himself. And in that embodiment is a transgressive empathy, one that recognizes our wild appetites, the monsters, the misfits, the misunderstood among us and inside us. Few writers have so willingly ventured to the dark places of the human psyche and allowed themselves to be stripped bare on the page with such candor and vulnerability. Over the past half-century, Bidart has done nothing less than invent a poetics commensurate with the chaos and appetites of our experience. I don't believe a word of that. I am going to have to consult with poetry people that I know and find out. I've got little collections from this guy over the years, seen his name. I'm sure I've seen individual poems published in places here and there. But now I want to know if this is a big deal. Is this a big deal? Uh, it's certainly a big book, and it's a nice looking book. So it comes out in mid-August, goes on the August shelf. And what is the scroll? Why would it come with a scroll? And if you're going to give me a scroll, spring for some cloth instead of a rubber band. Jeez. What is this? You look at that. It's not the pub sheet. Instead, it's 3 versions of a poem by Catullus, my beloved Catullus, which is why it's in scroll form. What on earth? Okay, so the 3 versions of a poem by Catullus. Odi ad amo, the ultimately famous line from Catullus. I hate and love ignorant fish who even wants to fly while writhing. That's from 1983. That's kind of good. Then the next one is Excrucior. I hate and love the sleepless body hammering a nail, nails itself, hanging crucified. Less good. That's from 1997. And then the last one is Id faciam. What I hate, I love. Ask the crucified hand that holds the nail that now is driven into itself, why? Again with the crucifixion. And worse than the first 2. So is this a poet who gets worse as time goes on? Is that what Steve is facing in this book? One way or another, I got a scroll containing poems by Catullus. That hasn't happened to me since I think it was probably 8115. I think the poet Marshall gave me a scroll of Catullus. Didn't get him back in my good graces. All right, so there you go. This is quite a varied haul, and as befits its varied packaging. So we have Half-Light, collect poems of Frank Bedard. Then we have Keeping On, a tome of narcissistic navel-gazing and self-pity from Alan Bennett, the absolute reigning master of narcissistic navel-gazing and self-pity. Then Midnight in the Pacific, a new history of Guadalcanal, and Assassin's Price by Modicet, the latest in his Imager series. So there you go. That is almost certainly our last mail haul for the day, although the other day convinced me never to say never. I will wait until midnight. But in the meantime, I will see you soon. Thank you, BookTube.